are headed back to Boulder for one last look at Shedeur Sanders in a private workout tomorrow. As you know, the Giants signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And GM Joe Schoen was asked about the importance of the Giants getting a quarterback at some point in the draft.
With the signing of those two players, I think we put ourselves in a position where, I don't think that's mandatory or something that we're, our feet to the fire and we have to do. I think the two guys we signed have played a lot of ball. They've got a lot of skins on the wall, and I do think we've upgraded that room, compared to where it was a year ago. I like the two guys that we have. If the value matches up with what we have on a player and there's an opportunity to take any position, we'll do it. But not going to force it if it's not the right value. And again, if the board lines up when we're on the clock and that's the position that we want to go with, we'll go with it. But I'm not going to be backed into a corner on that.
We're joined now by Giants reporter Jordan Raanan and NFL analyst Booker McFarland. And Jordan, try as you might to back him into a corner. Joe Schoen would not allow that. What else did he say about this Sanders workout and their draft strategy?
Yeah, I asked him specifically, why are they doing a private workout so late here in the process? And what he said is it's nothing abnormal. It has to do with the scheduling and also the late Colorado Pro Day. That then set up this late meeting because teams don't generally like to ask players to do these private workouts before the Pro Day. So the Giants had to wait. The way the schedule worked out, they're here in the last few days doing private workouts, not only with Shedeur Sanders, but also with Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe. Now the Giants, they have a large contingent on the way as we speak to Boulder, Colorado to check out Shedeur Sanders and see what he has to do. And the reason it's so important is this is vital to the quarterback process, the evaluation process for the Giants, specifically Coach Brian Daboll, who doesn't even go to a lot of the pro days. That's the dirty little secret. Pro days, not that important to the Giants in their quarterback evaluations. Private workouts certainly are. As one source told me, the Giants would not draft a quarterback for Brian Daboll if they didn't go through a private workout.
Yeah, that Colorado showcase wasn't until April 4th. And, of course, as we know, Joe Schoen and a large contingent went to a ton of Buffs games this fall as well.
All right, Booker, let's go to you. The Giants, they should have a chance at one of the can't-miss prospects in this draft. What do you think their approach should be in round one next week?
Well, I think they should take the best player available. And I know that may go against conventional wisdom, especially when the owner comes out and says, our number one priority this offseason is to get a franchise quarterback. But if you don't think a franchise quarterback is there at number 3, specifically Shedeur Sanders, we know based on, I guess, everyone's mock draft, Cam Ward's is 99% chance he's going number 1. That leaves Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. One of those picks is going to be there at 3 after Cleveland picks at 2. So if you're the Giants and Joe Schoen, I get it. You got to win this year and your job's on the line and we all want to save our job. But if they're going to do right by the New York Giants and they're going to take the best player available, they would take either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter depending upon who's there. I think to take a quarterback at 3, maybe it's not their pick. Maybe it's the owner coming in and saying, okay, I've given you guys a little time to do your deal. We botched the Saquon Barkley situation. I need a franchise quarterback for the future. So if they do take a quarterback at 3, I think that gives us some insight into who's making this pick. Maybe it's not Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. Maybe it's the owner.
Well, ESPN Bet, by the way, has Travis Hunter as the heavy favorite at minus 400 to be the first non-QB drafted in Green Bay. Hannah?
Yeah, everything Boog said there, this whole thing is under the prism, perhaps, of Schoen and Daboll if they don't have a good season moving on. And we heard Travis Hunter say yesterday, Jordan, he's not going to play football unless he can play both receiver and DB. What did Schoen say about that?
Yeah, that the Giants would not be afraid to play him at both positions. Now, Joe Schoen didn't exactly specify what would be his primary positions or if he would do both full-time. Hunter played 86% of the snaps last year at Colorado. That was almost twice as much as any NFL player. Now, when you ask people around the league about Travis Hunter, they say it's pretty clear. There's 2 players in this draft that separate from everybody else. It's Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. That's why you hear what those odds were for Travis Hunter being the first non-quarterback drafted. He's considered by most, I spoke to an executive this morning, told me blue chip generational player. Joe Schoen said today that if there were a blue chip player available, that would be something you can't pass on. So I think that kind of comes into play here when you're talking about a player who does what Travis Hunter can do, play two positions at such a high level, sort of like a football unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, Shane's totally setting the table for Carter or Hunter, who averaged almost 114 snaps per game in 2024. No other player in FBS had more than 85. Jordan and Boog, I guess we just got to stay tuned. Back to the NFL, it's year 3 for C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, and the Texans are coming up back-to-back divisional round playoff losses. Houston has 7 draft picks, with their first-round pick at 25 and a second-round pick and 2 third-round picks. Here's GM Nick Caserio.
Well, we've never drafted from need around here. I mean, we're never going to. So we're going to pick the best player that we feel fits our program, regardless of the position. I'd say other than quarterback, I mean, I'd say pretty much any position's on the table. It's about putting the team first. It's not about talent. I mean, talent's a part of it, but it's really not about talent. So, I mean, it focuses on putting together the best team possible. We're going to get a good player if we pick at 25. So, and if we don't pick at 25, then wherever we pick next or whenever we do pick, we think we're going to get a pretty good player.
Back with Booger McFarland. So, Boog, it was just a couple years ago the Texans had this unreal draft. They get C.J. Stroud, they get Will Anderson Jr., they surprise everybody, they win the division, they come back and do it again, but they need to take another step. What should they be focusing on in the draft?
Yeah, I hear Nick Caserio when he talks about best player available, but that best player available better be an offensive lineman, especially since you trade away your all-pro left tackle Laramie Tunsil to the Washington Commanders. The #1 priority on your team has to be C.J. Stroud. He got sacked a ton last year. He was beat up, and quite frankly, Hannah, he took a step back last year in his progression. So therefore, you got to replace Laramie Tunsil. Good thing for the Houston Texans, picking where they pick at, and even if they decide to move up, they should be able to get a left tackle in the first round, or at least a really good offensive lineman where they can plug and play and help protect C.J. Stroud, because that's got to be the #1 priority. And here's the thing about it. If you want one of those franchise left tackles, you got to get in the first round. History shows us that the best ones are going to be in round 1.
Yeah, obviously they took a guard in 2022, Kenyon Green. He's gone too. That offensive line was not getting it done. 29th in the NFL. They gave up 54 sacks. Boog is right. Listen up, everybody. Let's shore up that offensive line in H-Town. Thanks, Boog.
Ashton Jeanty is the top-ranked running back in this draft, and Jordan Reed's final draft ranking hasn't projected to go in the first round. Meanwhile, North Carolina's Omarion Hampton, the second-ranked running back, is also projected to go with Jeanty in the first round. And Booger McFarland is back with us. Booger, aside from Jeanty and Omarion Hampton, who are some of the running backs in this draft who could make an impact in 2025?
Yeah, it's a good thing you asked that, Jay, because this is a loaded running back class. We all talk about the two at the top in Jeanty and Hampton, but it is absolutely loaded. I got my eye on a few. I'm going to start Ohio State running back Travion Henderson. When you think Henderson, think Jahmyr Gibbs, how he pairs really well with Montgomery up there in Detroit. That's the type of back I think Henderson can be. He's the best pass blocking running back in this draft, and his ability to create yards in space. He can take it 60, 70, 80 yards. To me, he is an outstanding pick, somebody that can do it all from the running back position, and he can play in the pass game. Next, let's go down to Orlando, Florida, R.J. Harvey. Best in a zone scheme. I'm talking about vision out the wazoo. Understands how to make cuts, when to make cuts. You put him in a zone scheme, he's going to find yards. Gus Malzahn used him over and over and over in that zone scheme. Maybe one of the better running backs as far as the vision in the draft. And last but definitely not least for me, what about DJ Giddens from Kansas State? I love how he plays bigger than his body is, and oftentimes the #1 attribute I love in a running back, can you make a guy miss in a hole? He's quicker than he is fast. He can catch the ball, even though I think he can do that a little bit better. Those are 3 running backs, Jay. I think if you don't get the top 2, if you don't get Jeanty and you don't get Hampton, I think these 3 running backs can help your team in an absolute loaded, I mean loaded running back class.
Loaded is the right word, indeed.
Đọc xong mình sẽ là câu hỏi tại đây chứ không phải đọc khoanh. Một tiếng như vậy, phải cắt nè.
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là con heo. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình là lợn đất. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nha.